The Jedi and the Sith were fierce enemies, staunch ideological opposites locked in perpetual conflict. We've talked about their battle of that between the light and dark sides of the Force many times in the past. This video will be another such discussion, but with a narrower focus. Today, we're going to be exclusively focusing on the code of the Jedi Order, the ways they defined the core precepts of their ideology. Our aim is to reveal how they saw their own beliefs and actions, and to see how they contrast and conflict with those of the Sith.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
There are a bunch of different versions of the Jedi Code, including a longer one with a bunch of rules tacked onto the end of it that's alluded to in Attack of the Clones. But the version of the code we'll be analyzing today is the most well-known, the version written by the great Jedi Master Odan in the centuries following the Great Hyperspace War. There is no emotion, there is peace. There is no ignorance, there is knowledge. There is no passion, there is serenity. There is no chaos, there is harmony. There is no death, there is the Force. This code seems straightforward, but it carries several layers of deeper meaning. If from nothing else, this is shown by the fact that there isn't really a viable surface-level interpretation of the code. Each line of the code contrasts two things, denying one and affirming the other. If taken literally, it might be read to say that things like emotion, chaos, and death do not exist, which is not only flat-out wrong, but also just not what the Jedi believe. Taken too metaphorically though, the code loses all meaning. Interpreting it as simply saying, avoid this, strive for that instead, cheapens it beyond worth. To understand the Jedi Code, one must walk a fine line between literal and metaphorical interpretation, much as the Jedi must walk a fine line to stay on the path of the light. The complexity of understanding the code is actually its first lesson. In a rather meta way, it teaches that nothing is as it seems on first glance, or on the first attempt at introspection. Rather, understanding requires constant consideration, re-evaluation, open-mindedness, and the wisdom of experience. The Jedi Code is a microcosm of the complexities of the wider universe. So, what does the Jedi Code actually mean? Well, from a certain point of view, it is actually literal in a sense. It means that the precepts it rejects are illusions. Not in the sense that they don't exist, but that they function as smokescreens for the greater truths of the universe. To be a Jedi is to see through them to the truth within, to reject them and the path they would lead a Jedi down to stay on the path the Force intends. Furthermore, the order of the lines of the Jedi Code is important in its own way. Each subsequent truth builds on the ones that come before it. Let's break it down line by line. The first lesson of the Jedi Code is that there is no emotion, there is peace. Everyone feels emotion at all times, even Jedi, but an important part of a Jedi's life was managing emotions to maintain inner calm and communion with the will of the Force. While the Jedi understood that emotions were inevitable and valid, they also understood that they can warp perception and inhibit good judgment, so they sought to meditate through them and let them go. It is all too easy to let your emotions lie to you, to give you a false view of the world around you, and the fundamental first step of being a Jedi was to resist this with the help of the Force. The light side and the Jedi way helped Jedi clear away the pall of emotion, and when Jedi did so, they found peace within. Peace, Jedi believed, was one of the fundamental truths of the universe, something that always existed within and without, something that was a Jedi's duty to create. There is no ignorance, there is knowledge. Is a lot simpler, and actually goes back to the lesson about understanding we talked about earlier. Once a Jedi dispensed with the lies of base emotions, they had to move on to correcting the laziness of the mind. Ignorance. Ignorance here is used to mean all senses of the word, from a simple lack of education in a topic to bigotry, and the code asserts that the answer to all of them is knowledge. The lesson here is obvious. A Jedi should always strive to learn and confront what they lack knowledge of or have biases about. Then there's the third line of the code. There is no passion, there is serenity. This may seem like a restating of the first line, and it builds upon the same concepts, but its separation from the first line is important. The Jedi are dividing emotion and passion, peace and serenity. To understand the meaning of passion here, we would do well to consider the word's etymology. Nowadays, passion is typically used as a synonym for emotion, but it originates from the ancient Greek pashein, meaning to suffer, and originally, passion as a concept was understood more along these lines, defined as the capacity of being affected by external agents, typically in a negative way. With this understanding, we can reinterpret passion as the Jedi Code uses it to refer to controlling influences over a person's psyche, especially emotional ones, which affect your character and your motivations. To disperse one's passions requires knowledge and the absence of ignorance. You need to learn to be aware of these controlling influences within you to be able to dispense with them. In doing so, Jedi see through the lies of their passions and achieve serenity, which we would contextualize as an absence of suffering and controlling forces. The fourth line of the code, there is no chaos, there is harmony, is somewhat related. It teaches to take the introspective lessons of the first three lines and apply them to the wider world, seeing through the emotions of living things to see the interconnected balance of life, seeing through the ignorance to see the wisdom that all sentience have traces of, and seeing through the passions beings allowed to control them to see the serenity of the Force. Once you're able to see through all outside influences, you realize there's no chaos, really. It looks like chaos when thousands of voices try to superimpose their will over that of the Force, but when you can see through those influences, you realize there's only one voice you need to listen to: the Force. The Force keeps the galaxy in balance, and though the universe may seem chaotic, random, and uncontrollable, in reality, all things are in harmony. The last line of the code, there is no death, there is the Force, takes this principle up a notch. It teaches that the harmony of the Force is so universal that not even death can alter it. Those who die simply become one with the Force, part of the greater whole, in communion with the living and those yet to live. Death may seem like the only unchangeable truth of the universe, but it isn't. That title belongs to the Force, and death itself is only a tiny part of its greater harmony. This last line generally wasn't touched on much by Jedi, who spent most of their lives focusing on the fourth line, but its words brought comfort to many a Jedi who prematurely joined with the Force. All of this grants insights not only into the Jedi themselves, but into their battle with the Sith. The precepts the Jedi Code rejects, emotion, ignorance, passion, chaos, and death, are the core of the dark side. The Sith embrace these things. Their base emotions and deeper passions are the fuel of their power. They stubbornly remain ignorant about the wisdom of the Jedi. They revel in chaos and build their lives around what they see as logical survival in a chaotic universe. And the Sith have a pathological fear of death. In their fixation on all these things, they fail to see the lies they embody, and they refuse to see through them to the truths within. The Jedi Code teaches not only that the dark side is wrong, but that it's based on flailing at illusions in the pursuit of vain goals. It teaches to see past the surface level through calm, patient introspection, so as to better perceive the truth of the Force, and thus, the universe. By having the patience to walk the narrow line between the literal and metaphorical to truly understand the Jedi Code, one can learn how to walk the narrow line between peace and justice, to achieve understanding of the Force and to execute its will. Even to those who aren't Jedi, the Jedi Code contains usable wisdom. There may not be the Force, but there is peace, there is knowledge, there is serenity, and there is harmony. And we can all try to see through to them, no matter what smokescreens are thrown up around us. So, that's our look at the Jedi Code. We're going to be releasing a companion video about the Sith Code very soon, so stay tuned for that. But what do you think? Has this changed your understanding of the Jedi Code at all? Feel free to post your thoughts in the comments section below.